Okay, let's channel for the full moon in Sagittarius. Hi, my name is Yam, aka Hinduitive, and I am here to intuitively interpret some astrology for you. So I am constantly hesitant to do long form content. A lot of the predictions that I've made over the last year are reaching their culmination as we speak right now, this month. And I have not felt like beating a dead horse I haven't felt like fear mongering. I've just wanted to allow things to play out. Today, though, for the full moon in Sagittarius, I realized that y'all don't care. You probably don't care about what the lighting is like or if I have makeup on. You probably care about just getting the information. And so I am going to try. I'm going to try to be more consistent about posting. I have everything I could ever need to be set up for professional recordings. It's more that it takes a lot of energy out of me, but I am also learning how to negotiate that. So we have the full moon in Sagittarius happening June 11th at 8:42 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. A full moon in Sagittarius, so we're talking about a full moon that is something that you have to let go of, right? It's something that you're releasing, something that you're making space for. Sagittarius is the perpetual optimist, but more importantly, for right now and this full moon is that Sagittarius is the perpetual student in a classic chart where Aries is the first house because it's the first sign of the zodiac. Sagittarius is the ninth house and the house of education, travel, philosophy, foreign entities, but more like exploring foreign lands. I have a ninth house stellium, which is why I know that part of my destiny is wrapped up in teaching and traveling. You might also have placements in the ninth house that allow you to know what you should be studying. So the full moon in Sagittarius is about us needing to expand our idea around what we can let go of. It's us needing to be a little bit more expansive and curious about the other side of the coin. There will be such cataclysmic change that has occurred. It will be really obvious where we need to let go of what we know and how we need to expand. But on a personal level, this I think is a lot about us meeting in the middle of the aisle. I think if you are caught up in blaming third-party voters or people that didn't vote, people that could not vote for Kamala Harris because genocide was a red line for them, you need to be focused on not agreeing with, but meeting people in the aisle. If you have a strong bias against MAGA voters or the Deep South and don't understand that it's because of voter disenfranchisement or because of a lack of education, that it's all so systemic and that most of the people that are indoctrinated into that cult or into any cult are indoctrinated because that's the option, not because they have access to education, right? You need to be educated enough to understand that you were born where you were born with the privilege that you have in order to understand that was luck. Right? I mean, sure, spiritually, maybe your soul chose to be born where you were born, your family, etc. But when we're talking about spirituality, if we're ignoring the 3D and if we're ignoring what's actually happening, that sets us back. And so this full moon in Sagittarius is saying, I know that the last thing you could possibly think of stomaching, and for the record, I am not talking to brown or black people right now. I'm talking to white people. You guys need to be able to reach across the aisle. You need to be putting your bodies where our bodies have been. And in terms of like a broader aspect, then I'm talking about brown and black people. We need to be able to meet our fellow South Asians, or, you need to be willing to meet other people in your community or your demographic. And you need to be able to understand this is how they were raised. This is all they've come to believe. This is all they've come to understand. you have an extreme privilege being able to see even outside of one opinion. And you have to consider that. If you are somebody that does not have to take on any physical labor or any preconceived racial or socioeconomic labor, as in if you walk into a room and I can't assume anything about your immigration or your immigration status or your money or your privilege or your health or your salary, because my assumptions with you would be tied to something less than, as in if you are a black or brown person walking into a room, that is a very different circumstance than if you're a white person walking into a room, white passing person even walking into a room. And you do have to come to terms with that. And then full moon in Sagittarius is asking you to let go of your gripes around that and to embrace what you can learn around that. We have a Mars-Uranus square. Remember, squares are always uncomfortable. Uranus is the planet of explosions, volatility, unpredictability. Mars is the planet of war, masculinity, aggression, what we have come to associate with masculinity. We have Jupiter that has today gone into Cancer. We have Jupiter in Cancer. So Jupiter, expansion, growth, fortune, Cancer, motherhood, nurturing, parenting. We have that Jupiter squaring, forming an uncomfortable transit to a Saturn and Neptune conjunction. Saturn and Neptune are both in Aries for the first time in our lifetime. And Saturn is the planet of karma, discipline. Neptune is the planet of illusion, dreams, intuition, both in Aries. Again, planet of war, masculinity, aggression. So Jupiter, that's what we're seeing right now in LA with all of these protests. We're seeing a collective expansion of nurturing and caretaking, conflict with Saturn, the government being like, we're going to strong arm the shit out of this. If you're not going to listen to us, we're going to make you listen, right? But because Jupiter is in Cancer for the next year, in terms of Western astrology, in terms of America, it's not going to hold. The center cannot hold. We are in a very caretaking era. If you are not in a caretaking era yet, you will be forced into it. And, you know, there's so many quotes floating around about like, you weren't fighting until it showed up on your doorstep. It's on your doorstep. It is here. It has arrived. There's no point. If I hear one more person say, it's so crazy, it's so sad, it's not, it's the opposite of crazy. It is a mathematical equation, what we're experiencing now. This has been propped up for, you know, at least the last 600 years, and it will continue to be propped up unless we do put our bodies on the line, we do put our careers on the line. And Palestine was the litmus test. And that's where I feel some of this frustration sometimes, because I'm like, well, until like the big stuff really happens or until it's on everybody's doorstep, I don't know how productive it is for me as a psychic to be like, yep, this is what's happening. But here we are. So this full moon in Sagittarius for these next 6 months. So what's today? June 10th. We're talking about until December 10th. And when we're in Sagittarius season, we're talking about what we can let go of and what we can be willing to learn for the next 6 months. So it will be a little disorienting because of these outer planets and because of these other transits. And it will feel a little bit like you're not making any progress at all. But you can't. This is the thing about a Sagittarius placement. I'm a Sagittarius rising too. So, you know, I do continue to beat this dead horse. But if you continue to talk about what's happening like it's final, like it's done, then that's what happens. If you choose to be a Sagittarius about this and look and learn, then this is actually the beginning of something really incredible. I have been saying, since I started Hinduitive, I've been saying, well, you know, we've met, we've come to this. I've started this business at the beginning of this 5-year cycle that ends in 2026, moves on to its next thing in 2026. And I have been saying 2025 is the crux of it all. Individually, it will be a very lucky year for many of us, but collectively, it will be a pretty devastating year. And you have to figure out how you can stay online and how you can engage without making yourself a victim, harboring resentment for other people that aren't yet online. Talking to myself. But the other aspect of this is like this Mars Uranus square. We have Jupiter squared to Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. We have Mercury meeting up with Jupiter in Gemini. We have Jupiter moving into Cancer, which happened late last night. We have Mercury squaring Saturn. That's communication, squaring governments, systems. Venus squared to Pluto. So that's like how we care for ourselves and the beauty that we find squaring long-term goals. It's very much like a what is the point of all of this energy that's in the air right now. We have this full moon. We have Mercury squaring Neptune. So communication, squaring, being uncomfortable with the planet of illusion, disillusionment, intuition, murkiness. So there's nothing that's easy about right now, astrologically. There's nothing that gets squared away. You have to figure out how to balance your individual pursuits with collective care. The three cards that I pulled are the Two of Wands reversed, Four of Pentacles, and Two of Cups. And what I asked specifically was, what do we as a collective need to let go of for the next 6 months? I'm going to say straight out the gate that you need to be willing to accept your personal success in the foreground of the final. What I'm being shown is like a TV, and it's like you're watching your life, like the movie of your life is happening, and in the background of this is like an avalanche, it's earthquakes, a lot of natural disasters, and you being like, my place isn't being affected by these raids. My place isn't being affected by these earthquakes. And you have to understand that outside of geographical luck, in terms of spirituality, you chose the life that you have where you are because it would give you the advantage of being able to help. And if you're here listening to me, that is true. If we have found each other and you're listening to this, that is true. Okay? You are deep down an activist. You are somebody that wants to create change. And when we have the Two of Wands reversed, we're talking about personal goals. We're talking about a fear of those personal goals. We're talking about also a lack of planning. You are probably feeling right now like, I don't know where to start. I have no idea how to start. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be starting on. And the answer is just make the next best choice. So for yourself personally, like I'm in the middle of 75 hard right now, which involves no drinking. It involves 2 workouts a day. It involves drinking a gallon of water, reading. But my back from being out in the world, without saying too much, for the last 48 hours in LA and standing still or creating blockades or whatever one might have been doing for the last 48 hours, my back is really locked up. I'm having a very, very bad sciatic flare up. And to the degree that I had to forego a personal training session this afternoon, I'm having to really ask for help from neighbors and friends to help with Oliver. I think that part of that is because when a Two of Wands comes up, it's like, well, I want to donate money to these causes. I want to be a literal physical body in the space for many reasons, to stand up for what's right, but also to meet men that might be standing up for what's right. There are a million reasons, but you have to also believe in the butterfly effect. This Two of Wands reversed is like, you may not know where to start, but just do the next best thing. So the next best choice is the right choice. For me, like today, my back is locked up, but that means, okay, today was like, record a reading for your Patreon, like let people know what's going on. That will help you. You know, the next best thing for me after this reading will probably be to text somebody to say, you know what, I could use some support today. Come on over. That's how you have to think about this. And that's the thing about a Sagittarius placement and full moon in Sagittarius. It's not a long-term planner. A Sagittarius is not planning long-term. They have very good aim. So when they think of something, they are able to focus on that and get it immediately. But that's because they've spent a lot of time training as a student, right, with their bow and arrow, or as a centaur or whatever. The symbolism of that is a very good student. It's not an expert, it's somebody that's a very good learner. And so what this full moon in Sagittarius is asking you with this Two of Wands reversed is, okay, you're scared, you don't know what the next step is, but just, can you do the next good thing? Like, can you just make a choice to be a good person for the next round, like for the next hour, for the next 2 hours, for the next day? That's somewhere to start. Then we have the Four of Pentacles. Now, Four of Pentacles, we're talking about, somebody that has been saving up their money, has been also potentially holding on to old ideals. In the traditional deck, the Four of Pentacles, I'm using the Lioness Oracle deck, by the way, the first deck I ever used. I brought it back because I don't know where my traditional deck is, actually. I think it might have gotten confiscated by TSA. But Four of Pentacles in the traditional deck is somebody like clinging to something. They're clinging to a coin, which is meant to represent either you being a bit of a miser when it comes to your money or holding on to old ideals. And it's a lot of what we experience with people saying like, well, I support protests until they become violent. And it's like, well, what? Like, don't you think the occupation of something is violent? Don't you think fascism is violent? It's that energy. Okay. So Four of Pentacles, honestly, is telling you to like wake up, is to be more progressive, is to stop thinking that a two-party solution works, is to stop thinking that you can vibe your way out. Fire is growing, but it's in Burbank also. The Four of Pentacles is very much about needing to conserve your energy for better efforts. It's also about needing control. So it's very likely that many of you are experiencing a real urge to be in control of everything right now. Or if there is stuff that you in the past have used as a control mechanism, what I'm thinking of specifically, trigger warning for anybody that has struggled with eating disorders. I'm about to talk about that. This is that kind of control. This is like, okay, well, I can't control what's happening in the world. I'm going to control what I'm eating. I can't control what's happening in the world. I'm going to control my substance intake. By control that, I mean, I'm going to get fucked up. It's that kind of thing. So see where your self-sabotage is coming in. With something like the Four of Pentacles, this is saying like there's an old system that you need to let go of that is not serving you. And it's very much the feeling of like, it's like this weird gap that we have between people my age and people 10 years older than me. Like somehow so much has been lost between us. And so this Four of Pentacles is saying like you need to be willing to embrace different ideas. You need to be willing to embrace that maybe the Democrats are just as much to blame as the Republicans for the situation that we're in. If that makes you bristle, then like 100% you need to explore that and accept that as the truth. You need to understand, like with all these ICE raids, most of these people are coming from countries that the US has destabilized for the sake of oil or our benefit. So having a better understanding of that so that you can then go to your family members and explain it. Also, I do have to say with this Four of Pentacles, stop letting other people, especially brown or black people, do your emotional labor for you. Don't send us text messages that say things like, wow, this is so crazy. Wow, what's going on is so wild. We have to be up on it. We have to be reading about it. We are actively being targeted by it. If you can't handle at least the emotional labor of being up on the news, you should be the one sharing the petitions. You should be the person putting your body on the line. You should be the person understanding and knowing what the military is doing at any given point, or what our government is doing at any given point, what your community is doing at any given point. That is very much up to you. It is not up to your brown friends, and it's not up to me as your resident brown psychic to do that emotional, geographical labor for you. It's up to you. And this Four of Pentacles is very much like, yeah, you can't do things the way that you've been doing them because they've worked for you, but any system will work for you if that's your circumstance right now anyway. So you have to kind of, step your up. The other thing about Four of Pentacles that is pragmatic for this full moon in Sagittarius is needing to examine your relationship with money. It is remembering that you are the creator of your reality in terms of your perception of it, right? Which is the reality. When we're shifting our reality, we're not actually shifting our circumstances. We're shifting how we're perceiving everything, and that's what makes this circumstance better. But the Four of Pentacles is also like you're probably worried about your money right now. You might be worried about material things right now. This just collectively is a time of us we're not supposed to be worried about where the money comes from, how we make money. I know that's easier said than done, but right now our mission is to be as spiritually aligned as possible. And then the final card that I pulled is the Two of Cups. And, there's really only one interpretation of this card. And it's a lot of what I've been saying about, like, I think for a lot of people in this collective, there are major wish fulfillments that happen in the foreground of these genocides and of this rise of fascism. And it will feel very weird. But for some people in this collective, Two of Cups really indicates to me that within these next 6 months of this full moon in Sagittarius energy, you will meet your person. And with these other things, this could be somebody that has slightly different values than you do or deals with them differently. Striking me about these cards together is like, I think for somebody in the collective, you will be meeting somebody that agrees with you and morally aligns with you, but handles things differently. For example, like you might be somebody that's like, whatever, I can't take money with me when I die, I'm just going to spend it. And this person is like, I have saved everything. Like I have millions of dollars saved up just for the sake of saving it. I don't plan for that. Like I can't, only God knows if I have another day. And this person is like, I have lived my life assuming that I will live till I'm exactly 100 years old, and it will be a very, very good balance. But the way that you will know that it's right for you is that it will be kind of an opposition, not morally. I think this person will align with you morally, but they will handle stuff differently. They have been searching for somebody that is wild like you. What thrills them about you is that you are kind of like, I don't know, I'm going to figure it out. I've always figured it out. I'll figure it out. And with that then comes a lot of financial stability for you. It comes with this gift of Two of Wands reversed, you not necessarily having to have things mapped out because they have you and they can specifically financially support you through it, because Four of Pentacles, they have saved money for years, and with the idea that they would provide for a partner, children, etc. And Two of Cups, it's like, and this is an undeniable connection, and people will be like, wow, that's what I keep hearing. Sagittarius, again, because it's an optimist and because it's a traveler, I do think this might be somebody that's not from where you're from, and somebody that is almost, in your opinion, initially too optimistic. This is somebody that you might say like, well, they'll say, what's up? And you'll be like, what do you mean what's up? Like, there are ice raids happening, there's genocide happening. And they're like, no, I know, but what's up with you? And you're like, what do you mean? And then you're like, oh, well, I made really good Hainanese chicken last night. I'm watching the new TLC show Virgins. Like they will be somebody that can ground you and will bring you back to earth. Also that stands with you and respects everything that you stand for and can financially back it. That's a really important part of this, but they aren't you. They don't do it exactly the way that you do it, and that will be good. Okay, so these three cards together for the collective, I think this is for somebody really specific, actually. I do think this is for somebody that's seeking partnership and is about to find it. And I think this will be a situation in which you will fight it. Like you will be like, almost like you'll poke the bear. You'll just see what kind of reaction you can get out of this person, and you're not going to get one. They're very grounded. They give me heavy Taurus placement and heavy Sagittarius placement. So also I'm hearing Gemini, but I think that might just be like they have a gift of gab, but they're very grounded and they're very, very attractive. I think that's it for this full moon in Sagittarius. In terms of a ritual, this is... I don't ever encourage spell work on full moons. I do sometimes encourage you to make moon water. Like you can just put a jar of water out and let it get charged by the moon. The moon in Sagittarius is very positive, and because Jupiter has moved into Cancer, which apparently Jupiter loves. I actually didn't know that before a lot of the discourse that's happening now from astrologers. I didn't think it was a bad placement, but I didn't know it was as good as it is. But I'm coming to understand that Western astrology does apply for like our Western collective more so than Vedic. You can do moon water, you can do a ritual, but honestly, if anything, I would say support Mexican businesses, support Latinx businesses right now. Explore outside of your own culture that way. That will be a good thing for you to do. There is so much individual success coming for so many of us this year. I can't believe we're halfway through. You just have to do what you can as an individual. There literally is no time for you to not know what's going on in the news. We are the adults now. You have to know what's going on. We have a responsibility to younger generations now and to the people that we leave this world to. And I know it's scary and it can be intimidating, but just look around. There are probably so many things that you have that other people will never have in their lives, and you have to buck up a little bit. The fire in Burbank is growing. We'll see what happens with that. But above all, let's just do our best. Bye.